Hi everyone, and welcome to a super short lesson on standard deviation. So what is standard deviation? Our textbook writer Salkin states that standard deviation represents the average amount of variability in a set of scores. So when you have a set of data and you find the average, what is good to know is if you have a low standard deviation, then most numbers in a set are close to the mean. And if you have a high standard deviation, numbers in this data set are more spread out. And this is how we calculate the standard deviation. When looking at this equation, it can be a little overwhelming, but when you break it down, it really is approachable, particularly with all of the software we have available to determine all of these operations. So in this equation, S is our standard deviation. That's what we're looking to calculate. This symbol means that we're going to be finding the sum of everything after it. The X is the value, each value in our set. We're going to subtract from that the mean of the values in the set, and we'll square that, divide that by the number of values in the set minus 1. So in our example, we have a teacher. She gave an exam. She got a pretty low average score for her class, and she wants to find out if the whole class is doing poorly or if there was an outlier somewhere. So she's going to find the standard deviation in her data set. I'm not sure why she can't just look at these 5 numbers and know, but she likes to be precise, so we're going to find out for sure. So the very first thing, remember this symbol means the mean or the average, and so to do that, we're going to add each number in our set. We're going to divide by the number of values in our set. And when we do, we get 71.2. So our mean for this data set, our average, the average grade is 71.2. The next thing we're going to do is find the difference between these two numbers. So we're going to subtract the mean from the grade. When we do that, something interesting to note is that we have some negative numbers and some positive numbers. And we're trying to figure out how far everything is from the average, and we want to get everything to be a positive number so we have the absolute value difference. So one way to do that is to square that. So if you notice, we're both squaring and taking a square root to kind of get it back to a number that's meaningful. So when we square those differences, this is what we get. And we now know we've completed this much of our equation. The next thing we have to do is get the sum of those values. And I promise I did it in Excel. The sum is 2,112.8. So now our standard deviation equation looks like this. We're trying to find the square root of 2,112.8 divided by n minus 1. So we have to figure out what n is, and we know that is the number of values in our set, and that is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4, so we're now here, and we'll divide these two to get that the standard deviation is the square root of 582. Which is 22.98, which is pretty big. So our teacher can determine from this that she probably doesn't need to reteach this skill to her whole class, that she probably could pull a small group of students in order to do a reteach there.